It's a new year and a clean slate in a league where boldness is preferred. Mike McPaio and the Highlanders of UC Riverside manage expectations as their season kicks off against a couple of UC foes. All of a sudden, the scheduling cup runneth over for the Beach to the tune of 3 games in a week after a 2-week pause. The Tritons hit the road after a successful start to their new year, including a win over the reigning champs. UC Davis gets back to action after a layoff, showing no signs of rust, and the Anteaters venture out on the road for their first game in 19 days. The Matadors and Mustangs were new acquaintances in the Valley, while the Bows look for competition on the mainland. Welcome to conference play in 2022. This is the Big West. The opening of the 2022 Big West schedule resembled the obstacle course on the old Battle of the Network Stars. And let's just say not all the teams were able to negotiate the first week of play like they were Scott Baio. Of the first 26 scheduled games, only 8 were played due to COVID-19 protocols, many of them taking place in empty gyms. But like they say, the show must go on. Last year's surprise team, the Highlanders of UC Riverside, kicked off by hosting UC San Diego out of the Inland Empire. The Tritons were coming off a weekend sweep at home against defending champion UC Santa Barbara and CSUN on New Year's weekend. The Highlanders used a balanced scoring attack and stifling defense, holding UC San Diego to under 30% shooting to come away with a 59-51 victory in the only league game played Thursday night. 4 UC Riverside starters scored in double figures. Both Callum McRae and Dom Pickett posted double-doubles as UC Riverside out-rebounded the Tritons 51-24. Aussie Matt Gray must have really felt at home amongst some of his countrymen in the 9-5-1 as he led UC San Diego with 11 points, shooting 3 of 8 from beyond the arc. The Highlanders also put the clamps on Big West Player of the Week Tony Roshak, limiting him to 9 points on 3 of 9 shooting as he played much of the game in foul trouble. It was a quick turnaround for UC San Diego to head up to Davis where the Aggies were waiting for them and recorded a 78-71 win on Saturday behind Elijah Pepper's 23 points and 9 rebounds, while Caleb Fuller added 22 on 7 of 12 shooting for UC Davis. Francis Wakoria logged a double-double for UC San Diego, while grad transfer Jake Killingsworth chipped in with 15 points, shooting 4 of 7 from long distance. The loss was the first for the Tritons where they led at the half. They'd previously been 5-0 when leading after the first 20. The Aggies trailed up until about 4 minutes to go when Pepper gave them the lead with a 3-point bucket. They then held on the rest of the way, recording the win after having not played since December 22nd. In the city they call Long Beach, it's a couple of head coaches with WCC roots, Iran Ganat and Dan Munson, getting after it as the Bows face off with the Beach. Long Beach State rode the shooting of Colin Slater in the first half as he kept his squad in it with a couple of threes, and what Slater did by air, transfer Joel Murray did by land. Here he is with the and one, and just like that, the Beach had the lead. But it was the Benelux import, Noel Coleman, nailing the 3 to give Hawaii a 5-point lead heading to the locker room, and his hot shooting carried over into the second half, where he got help from his Canadian counterpart, Jerome de Rossières. Greetings from Quebec right there, and eventually Coleman gave the Bows a 19-point lead. While the Beach rallied late, they came up just short. Hawaii comes away with a 72-67 win. Moving up the freeway to the San Fernando Valley, the Mustangs of Cal Poly took on their old foes dating back to the D2 days, the Matadors of CSUN, with both teams playing a little shorthanded. Fordham transfer Onyi Aisi put up his best game, a new career high, against his old prolific prep teammate Ali Karoma. He had 20 for the Matadors, while Elijah Hardy stepped up for CSUN as well with a solid all-around performance of 15 points, 7 rebounds, and 4 assists. Atten Wright and Kalen Rains both helped the CSUN effort as well. They had 11 points each, including some key buckets down the stretch in an 18-0 second-half run for the Matadors. Kyle Colvin kept Cal Poly in it with his scoring, putting up 24 points, but in the end, it was the Matadors bouncing back for a 68-55 win against a Cal Poly squad playing for the first time since December 17th. We finish where we started in the Inland Empire, where the 2 best defensive teams in the conference squared off. Here we get a look at head coaches Russell Turner and Mikey McPaio. After 20 days off, the Eaters didn't score their first bucket until nearly 4 minutes in as Riverside held the 29-28 lead at the half. UC Irvine's DJ Davis is a Riverside Poly graduate, and even he didn't feel so welcome in his hometown after this minor kerfuffle with Flynn Cameron of the Highlanders. Early in the second half, J.P. Moorman with a and one to give UCR the lead, but in a 3-minute stretch in the second half, Colin Velp scored 9 straight to push the UC Irvine lead from 6 to 14 with just under 7 minutes to play, and the Eaters never looked back. Velp strumming that sweet Seattle sound to the tune of 30 for the Eaters, while Moorman had 16 for UC Riverside. Callum McRae had his usual all-around game for the Highlanders, 10 points, 6 rebounds, and even 5 assists. In the end, though, it was the Anteaters asserting their dominance over the upstart Highlanders, outscoring them by 18 in the second half to take the first meeting of 2022, 68-51. Thanks for checking in. We'll catch you next week on This is the Big West.